Okay, so you mean to tell me that since mankind has been on this planet, that we're just now getting to a point where people of all these different races are suddenly interested in the exact opposite of what they are? We're just now getting to that point? How come it was like that? How come it was not like that 10 to 15 years ago? I mean, it was, but not like it is today. How come it wasn't like that 50 years ago? Actually, 50 years ago, that's when all this interracial marriage became legal. Because prior to that, it was illegal. So we're just now getting to a point after hundreds of thousands of years of existing on this planet. We're just now getting to a point where we are suddenly interested in anything that doesn't look like us. I mean, it just sounds weird to me. The levels that of people that are attracted to people who look nothing like them. It's just odd to me, and I kind of wonder if they're really attracted to these other races, or or are they being pushed by the media and the tabloids and the billboards and the commercials and the medical ads and the commercial ads and the movies and the sitcoms, and it's just everywhere. Interracial promotion is just everywhere. I have always really wanted to be with a man that understands who I am, understands me as an individual, and a man that has a lot in common with me on a background level. So I don't have to explain to him what Juneteenth is. We just go and we celebrate it together, okay? I don't have to explain to him what hair grease is because he automatically knows. I don't have to explain to him why I don't want to listen to any other music besides R&B. You see what I'm saying? Even though I do listen to all different types of music, I mainly listen to the music that I was born and raised with, which is soul music, R&B music, okay, made and discovered and by black people. So, I don't have to explain to him what Kwanzaa is. I don't have to explain to him why I'm wearing a bonnet on my head when I go to sleep. When you marry someone from your own community, they already know. You see what I'm saying? I'm too lazy to have to I really don't want to have to explain all that. If I get with a black man or a biracial man or a mixed race man, a MGM, a Griff, whatever, if I get with someone from the black diaspora, they're going to know pretty much everything they need to know. I'm not going to be embarrassed to eat in front of them. I'm not going to be embarrassed to go and use the bathroom, and be worried about a smell or anything like that, because we eat the same types of foods, and so we kind of know what it's going to smell like, if I go do number 2 or whatever. we know what each other eats and stuff like that, and so we're familiar with different types of our own, scents that we put out when we go to the bathroom, Whereas if you're dating someone outside of your race, you got to kind of ease into all of that. Not saying that it's a problem, but I'm, at my age, I really just I don't feel like going through all that. I'm too lazy to be bothered with it. If I can't be with someone from my own community, if I can't be with a guy that kind of knows who I am before he even gets with me, then I really don't want to be bothered, because I'm too lazy to have to sit down and explain what this is and what that is and why black people do this. And I want somebody who already knows. It's the trouble. I just don't feel like the trouble. I mean, I am attracted to some of these other races, yeah, but I just don't want to have to explain this, that, and the other. I just want to exist. I just want to feel comfortable, And with me being an MGM, okay, and what I mean by that is I come from two biracial parents, okay? And so, I understand other biracials. I feel very comfortable around mixed race people, MGMs in particular. And then biracials next, okay? Because MGMs, we're a little closer to each other. We're kind of like in between biracial and in between light-skinned, okay? So, yeah, I kind of like other, and I can tell an MGM when I see one, pretty much, because we look kind of biracial and then light-skinned at the same time. We look like a in-betweener. So I'm more attracted to MGMs, really, because it is different to be with an MGM, because they were raised by biracial parents. And most of the time, their parents lean more towards the black side. At least the MGMs where I'm from, that's how they more or less lean towards. Okay, so yeah, I like either black men or MGMs. Biracials, yeah, if I like the ones really that I'm a little more comfortable around, the ones that were raised with a black mother and a white father, because that's technically how I got here. Okay, if you go back to my great-grandparents on my father's side, that's pretty much how that went down. And then on my mother's side, she's a biracial. So she's not an MGM, she's actually biracial. But you got a biracial with a mulatto, and here I am. So I kind of feel like mixed race men who have a black mother and a white father can relate to black people just a little bit more, because they were raised by a black mother. So naturally she's going to kind of teach him, even if it's on an unconscious level, she's going to teach that child all about their blackness, okay? And if his father is present, I'm sure he'll learn about him or her. I'm sure they will learn about their white side. And if not at home, the community will teach them once they get out into the world. And so, yeah, it's an interesting world. There's biracials that I've actually felt very uncomfortable around, and some of them are the ones that come from a white mom and a black father. To me, some of them act just as prejudiced towards other mixed race people or MGMs. They act kind of prejudiced towards us. Some of them do. Not all, some. because I could tell by the way that some of them have looked down their nose at me, like they can't really figure out what I am. They're trying to find out if I'm biracial or a light skinned, and then the ones that are very educated will just clearly know that I'm an MGM. Okay, they can kind of see it, but I kind of feel more comfortable with biracials that were raised by a black mom and a white dad, because they're a little, to me, they're a little more hip about black people, you know, because I was raised as black. All this biracial and MGM and Griff, all this type of this caste system on a verbal level, it's new to me. It's all new, you know. And so, but I think where it's going to end up is eventually you're going to be either black or mulatto. If you're dark skinned or medium dark, you're going to be considered black. If you're light skinned and, you know, medium light and very bright light, you're going to be considered mulatto. I think that's where it's eventually going to end up, because that's just, I think, the road we're headed towards. And then I think eventually the mulattoes are going to probably breed with the blacks, and then we're going to have a lot of Griffs and MGMs running around. And I'm okay with that. I have no problem with that. But eventually, if we don't slow down, there's not going to be a white or a pure black race left. And you can sit there and say to yourself, well, there's no pure black race now. Okay. Unless you're in Africa, that's true. But if you're 75 to 95% black, as far as I'm concerned, you're black. And if it's in the 65 range, that's more like a Griff. If you're 65 percent black, I think that's more probably Griff, I think. And then an MGM, that's going to be 30%, anywhere from 30 to 35% white, and in the 50 range of black, 50 to 55% black, that's more of a MGM. So again, like I said, MGMs are kind of in between a Griff, or no, MGMs are between mulatto, they're in between biracial and a Griff. They're kind of, or biracial and light skinned, which is basically a Griff. Oh, so it's interesting. I think that, throughout the years when I've worked with white people from different countries, some of the white people that I have found that are a whole lot more attractive to me were from Eastern and Southern Europe. They're a whole lot more attractive than Western Europeans, that's in my belief. Because I've seen people from Croatia, from Greece, from Italy, from Sardinia, from Sicily, even some from Spain, not very many, but some, a very small amount. I have found that Southern Europeans are a whole lot more attractive than Northwestern Europeans, as far as the men go. But women, I think it's probably equal. I think they're in the competitive range. You got a lot of pretty Eastern European women, and then you have quite a few pretty Northwestern women. But Northeastern, and then Eastern, and then Southeastern and South European, they're pretty nice looking. Like when you get to places like Romania, they're pretty nice looking. Some German women are pretty. To me, to be very honest with you, I get along with German women very well, but they're kind of average looking to me. I think the prettiest white women are Nordics. Okay. The prettiest white women to me are like northern Europeans. They're Nordics. We're talking about Norway, Denmark, Scandinavia, those type places. So they have some pretty attractive ones, and some of them, are not so nice looking, but a lot of them are. They're very soft and feminine, and they're very their personalities are very soft. And speaking of vampirism, now this is something that's really strange, but when we start talking about vampirism, this is something I found very strange. I've noticed throughout the years before I found out, that I was an energy vampire, there were certain people that would come around me, and it didn't happen very often, and usually they would have Nordic features. And for whatever reason, especially they could be both a male or a female, but if they came around me, there's certain ones that I just start, I'm able to absorb their energy, and oh my God, it's such a nice feeling. It's like I get these tingles all over my body, and it feels so good to be around them. And like I said, it's not all of them. There's just certain ones that they throw off some type of energy that I feed on. Okay, it intertwines with my energy, and I could just stand there and my whole body will just start tingling, and it's such a good feeling. And it happens with Nordic people whenever I come around, and I'm not saying it's all of them. There's only a select few, but it's mostly with Nordic people or people that have Nordic features. They have blue eyes, blonde hair, and really pale skin, and they're very slender. sometimes when they come around me, they throw off that energy, and oh my God, I just go into some type of trance. Okay, and I could tell I'm pulling their energy from them. Okay, and I think it might have something to do with because I'm part, Danish. I do have Danish blood in me, so that could be why when they come around me, I just extract their energy. For some reason, their energy comes into my aura, and I just absorb, and it's a really good feeling. Now, there are some, and it's usually white people. It's usually white people that I get this feeling around. Now, there are some, and it's been very, very few. I can almost count them on one hand. There's been a couple, maybe 2 or 3 black people that I've been able to extract energy from, and it's a very, very good feeling to where, sometimes I can't even move because I'm just in this state of awe. I'm able to extract their energy, and it almost sends me into like a orgasmic type of feel. It feels so good. Okay, I haven't been able to do it to anyone lately because I'm not standing directly by them. I have to be within a certain distance from them, and then they have to get to moving around a little bit, and then their energy surrounds them, and then it comes into my zone, and then that's when I start to feed off of it. Okay, and it's just, oh my God, it feels better than sex. Seriously, it feels literally almost better than sex, or almost just as good as being penetrated. Seriously, it's a really, really nice feeling, but I cannot do it with everyone because most people I can't feed off of them. I cannot feed off of their energy because either they're too negative or they're too into this era. Their energy is so low, I cannot feed off of it. So a lot of these people, it's useless to feed off of their energy because I just end up spitting it out, and sometimes I can get sick. Just literally sick just being around them because their energy is so low. Okay, so I either have to move. There's a couple of people that I was put around in my work place, the place that I work. There's been, especially when COVID was a present, and there were people that I was put around that I could literally smell the COVID cells on them going to work, and it would put me. One time it got me so sick I had to leave the job. I could literally smell COVID. I could smell it on certain people, and it would start getting me sick, and I would have to leave the area. I would have to either go put on a mask immediately, or I would ask to be moved because I can literally smell COVID. And this new virus that has made itself onto the planet, the hantavirus, I think I'm going to be able to smell that as well on certain people, because I'm already starting to smell this scent, and it's a very, very sickly scent. So for you people out there, be very, very careful about this hantavirus, because I have smelled within the last 3 weeks, I've smelled a few scents I'm not familiar with, and it was a pretty sickly smell, and I think I might have come into contact with some very small particles of it. Okay, Not enough to infect me, but I'm thinking maybe enough for me to smell it in the air, and it's not good. It's because I'm very, very sensitive. It is not good. It's very deadly. So just make sure you are keeping up on this virus and take it very seriously. Okay? Let's see, what else did I want to talk to you guys about? I'm thinking, because there's a lot of things that go through my mind, and I try to put it in the notes in my head, thinking I'm going to remember it, and then when I get online, I cannot remember what the notes that I've put in my head about what I want to talk to you guys about. But just, be aware, be on the lookout, try to pay attention to what's going on in the news. I wouldn't do a whole lot of traveling if I was you guys. And, hopefully this, outbreak coming in won't be as, dangerous as COVID was. Hopefully we won't have to have no lockdown and all that type of stuff, because I don't feel like having to go through that again. I really don't. And I saw a small commercial that came on that they are now advertising for the robots. So it's just going to be a matter of time before the robots start to get into these different households, and people are you're going to start seeing people with these robots everywhere, because they're starting to sell now. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I really do. These AI robots that are out, I think they're going to be very good company. I think if you don't have a man in your life, that's probably going to be the way to go. You'll have someone to talk to, someone to be with. And I can't wait for them to come out with the humanoid robots, the ones that look human. They look just like humans, but they're operated by AI systems. I can't wait for them to bring those out. That's what I'm saving my money for. So, but it's going to be a very interesting world that we're going into. I kind of feel like this world that we're in right now, there's a very strange energy to it. And it's almost like sometimes I feel almost like I'm drugged, but I'm not. I know that I'm not. But my mind almost doesn't feel stationary. It feels like I'm kind of in between two worlds. Like I'm holding on to the old world, but I'm moving into this new world. And so I kind of feel very in a state of somewhat confusion, but also in a state of a very, very highly relaxed state of mind, but a little too relaxed, because I kind of feel like it's almost like I've had a little bit too much to drink, and I'm at that point where I'm very relaxed, but not drunk, and not even before drunk, just very comfortable and very relaxed. That's kind of how I feel. But almost like there is but it's almost like there is something else in control of my mind. It's with me, but it's kind of in a state of real comfort, a very comfortable state. So it's just a kind of a strange feeling. I kind of feel like I'm here, but not here. Let's see, what else do I need to go over you guys with? So I think there's, I'm starting to see more and more black women dating men from other races, and I think that's a good thing. I would like to see more black women and Asian men together. I would like to see more of that, because I think the Asian race does have a lot to offer us. Because black women, a lot of the times, you guys seem to you seem to think that only white people are the only ones available. There's a whole sea of men out in the world that you guys can pursue. White men are not the only men by far that are available to you guys, okay? There's a lot of Asian men out here. There's Southeast Asian men, and then you can go for Latino men, because after all, their women are constantly coming over into the black community anytime they don't think that they can pursue a man within their own community. They head straight for the black community. And so I think it's in some of your interest out there to go for Latino men. Go for Latino men. I was raised by a Latino man, which was my grandfather. I told you guys this before. And so I think I came out just fine. Latino men have a lot to offer, And my grandfather was he pretty much played the father image, the father role, because my dad was in the islands for most of my life. He was in the Caribbean after him and my mom got a divorce. He stayed here for a few years and then went back to the Caribbean. So my grandfather really kind of raised me and my sister, along with my grandmother, okay, and my mom. But I'm talking about he was the man in our lives. So that's how we grew up. We grew up in a home with both cultures, okay. We would celebrate Cinco de Mayo, and we ate a lot of soul food and Mexican food in my household, okay. And so I can relate a lot to the Mexicans, because the area that I grew up in at that time, there were a lot of Mexicans around. Okay, so it was a mixed area that had quite a bit of Mexicans, and so I grew up around blacks, whites, and Mexicans. And I pretty much had a good life. We didn't live in a Blackistan area. We didn't have fights all over the place like what we're seeing on social media. You know how you go through some of those videos and all you see is a bunch of fights. The girls in the neighborhood gather around outside. They wait around and they'll deliberately start arguments just to test the other girls in the areas to see if they can beat them down. And that's all these girls seem to do all day. And I've seen a lot of that throughout the years. They wait around for these girls to fight. The first thing they do, the men that are in those areas, they pull out their phones, they record that shit, and then plaster it all over social media for the world to see. And to me, if I was a guy and I lived in Blackistan, to me that would make me very angry. That would make me want to leave, because you're putting our area on expose. You're exposing what goes on. I would feel embarrassed for the world to see us as a bunch of hyenas that fight all day. And you would think that somebody would try to make a difference in those communities somewhere. But this goes on generation after generation after generation. This goes all the way back to the 70s and the 60s and the 50s even. So, and maybe even the 40s, so probably all the way back from the slavery days. It just gets more rougher and rougher within each generation. It gets, more violent and more, because I think probably in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, there was probably just a lot of, in Blackistan areas, there was probably just a lot of physical abuse, probably sexual abuse, verbal abuse. And then in the 70s and 80s, that's when we saw a lot of the single parents coming in. Okay, a lot of divorces. Then in the 80s and 90s, that's when a lot of the fights started coming about. And then ever since then, Blackistan has been nothing but a hyena area where they just go around looking for fights all day. And to me, that shit would drive me up the wall. I would never want to come outside if that's what I lived in. I would never be seen outside. I would not socialize with those people. I would not be seen. Anytime I would go outside, I would hide myself. If I lived in areas like that, because I wouldn't want to live in those areas and have to defend myself every time I walk out of the house. That has got to be a hellish environment, and I'm hoping that something can be done so that those girls can finally live a decent life, because that's gotta suck. When we were kids, here's how we living in these mixed communities. Most of the time, the Mexicans hung out with each other, okay? And every now and then, you might have one or two of them that will come and hang out with the blacks. I didn't really see a problem with that. One or two, that's fine, okay? Even 3 or 4, as long as it's not too many of them, And so they would come hang out with us, and what we would do was we would play doll Barbies. We would go for long walks. We would eat snacks, watch TV, okay? And then as we got kind of older, like 15, 16, we would go to the mall and hang out, eat lunch, buy clothes, go into, Walgreens or CVS and look at the latest makeup and purchase it, and then come home and put it on and have a show and tell about what we bought the previous week. We would do a lot of that. We would have fashion shows and show and tells where we would buy clothes and then wear them and tell each other where we got this, that, and the other. We would do each other's hair. We would bake cookies and share them. We would share recipes with each other. I mean, we had fun when we were kids. There was hardly any fighting, maybe 1 or 2 fights a year. That's it. And they were little Kit Kat fights, nothing serious, stuff that we got over real quickly. We would, then when we got to be 16 and 17, we would play hide and seek with the boys, okay? That's where we would get together, go into the forest, play hide and seek. And we played this game called Hide and Go Get It, okay? Where the guys, we would play hide and seek, and the girls would go and hide, and the guys, whoever they found, they got to do whatever they wanted to do with them, okay? No real sex, but a lot of touching, a lot of kissing, a lot of filling, we would do that type of stuff. Some of them actually went all the way, okay, but most of us did not. Okay. So we would do that type of stuff, where, a lot of flirting with the boys and playing games. We dated the boys. Some of the dates would go into high school, and then after high school, a couple of them got married and would leave, and some of us would go on to college, and then some of us went on into the military. So that's how we ended up, but our childhood was a very calm, relaxed childhood. We would get together, all the kids in the block, on the block. We would get together, and that's what we would do. We would play cards, We would play Pokino, and we would play bingo, and we would play like blackjack, rummy, just a lot of these different card games, dominoes, checkers, parcheesi, pick up the sticks, Uno, and I was the checkers queen. I pretty much whooped just about everybody I played with. Okay, I never really caught on to chess because I just didn't want to put the time, the strategic mind, thinking. I just didn't want to have to do all that, so I never really got into chess. But checkers, I would, pretty much beat just about anybody I played. Okay, so that's what we did as kids. We would ride bikes. I mean, there was a ton of different things to do. We would take our dolls on bike rides with us where they got to sit in the basket and ride, and we would take our dolls up into the forest and lay out a blanket and eat lunch and walk our dolls around, I mean, we did a lot, we didn't stand around fighting all day over boys. I mean, I just don't understand why those people in Blackistan can't get a life. What is the frequency around there, and why hasn't anyone tried to manipulate it? Is it so spiritual nobody can break it? Nobody can break into that and change it? I mean, it's just very strange to me how it's like that everywhere you go in Blackistan areas. Okay, and these are areas where there's a lot of low-income people that live in project type, neighborhoods, and that's all they do. Don't you want to learn to exchange recipes? Don't you want to know how to make chocolate chip cookies? Don't you want to know how to make sugar cookies? Don't you want to learn how to make goulash? And that's what we did. We would exchange recipes. We would have cooking contests, cook-offs. We would sell the stuff at church. We would go to church on Sundays. We had baking sales. We would take that money, go buy hair grease and tanning lotions and sit out in the sun. We would just not too long, just 10-15 minutes at a time. We had barbecues. I mean, we lived, and we would take, cans of beer. We would steal cans of beer from our refrigerators and hide them, and then take them up into the forest and drink together. So we had fun when we were kids. We would go up into the forest and tell haunted stories about, the place that we were from or from the next city over. We had fun. So I don't understand why girls in Blackistan can't change their mind frame and get together as a community and have fun. Stop fighting. Fucking shit. Fuck it, man. Just get together. Play cards, board games, learn how to sew, fucking cook, do each other's hair, teach each other how to braid, sew clothes, learn how to sew, what do they call those? Those bed thing. I can't remember the names of them, but they go on your bed. Not the I'm thinking of, but I can't think of the name right now, so never mind. But just learn how to sew. Teach each other how to sew. I mean, you got the internet, so how come you guys can't get together? Raise money so that everybody in the hood can have a computer. Just try to outdo the next block over. Who can do better? And be positive about it. If you can't win this time, next time come up with ways to beat them out and have a positive attitude about it, because competition is good if you can keep it positive. See, I don't understand, girls in Blackistan. I don't understand you guys, Why can't you make yourselves do things that come together as a community and learn to work together, and try to better yourselves, try to support each other and try to, raise each other up and learn from each other. Why is it always a fucking fight and it's always, killing and murder? And I don't understand why you guys don't want better for yourselves. But anyways, this is pretty much all I have for this video. I hope you guys can... I hope you understand where I'm coming from. That was not a way to attack girls from Blackistan, but it just seems to me like pull yourselves out of that. We're going into a whole new era now. Use that energy to come up out of that. Learn how to make reborns and sell them. Get yourselves out of the hood. Learn how to do arts and crafts. There's so much out there that you can do. You guys got the internet now, so you don't even have to be trained how to do anything. You don't have to go to special sewing schools like we had to do back in the day. You guys can learn from the internet now. And a lot of these classes are free. There's no excuse to continue fighting over those boys all day. Find something constructive to do. And, competition should be healthy. It should be healthy, not deadly. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Thanks so much for listening to this video. If you can relate, go ahead and push the like button, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Thank you.